Hello, a few weeks ago, Bob the Science Guy made a few videos regarding the Foucault's pendulum, and he went through some of the math and some of the other things that were involved. That got me thinking about a video I had made a few years ago where I wanted to build a Foucault's pendulum simulator using all of the math, including all of the forces that would act upon it, in order to see if I could find any weird discrepancies in the Foucault's pendulum. And so with that, I decided to revisit that earlier project, this time with the help of ChatGPT. So after having probed ChatGPT quite a few times with different questions about the various math involved and asking it to help me build a simple program that I could then demonstrate that the math was correct, I then figured that I had something worth building on. So I ended up, after that, converting all of that code to Java, which you see here, and I then used a 3D rendering engine in Java to come up with this simulation window. So this is going to be the introduction to this application. I do intend to commit the code to my GitHub repository and make it available to everybody. I also plan on making binaries for Windows, the Mac, and Linux. So keep an eye out for that if you're interested. This video is going to be a quick introduction to the various features that I decided to throw in, and hopefully it will be both entertaining and informative to everybody. So I'm just going to gloss over some of the controls. I have different profiles available. I've got several generic Earth positions. Then I've got very specific Foucault's pendulum installations. I think these are correct. I do believe ChatGPT has been hallucinating quite a lot lately, so some of these may not be real. Then I included a few other locations on different planets just for the fun of it. And I also included a pulsar. Now, I did not put the gravity for that pulsar because otherwise it would be like in the millions of meters per second squared, and that would just be a bit too much for that. So what this will do is it will change these other settings when you select them. The next several options involve the azimuth of the camera to the center of the pendulum. There's the camera's altitude, so you can look at it from straight above, or you can look at it from further down like this. You can also zoom in and out like this, and there's also a time scale so you can speed up the animation. The animation that you see is just a visual representation. Internally, it makes no difference in terms of stepping through the math. Essentially, what I'm doing is, instead of trying to achieve real-time like simulation, it will run through the simulation X number of times faster, but it still ends up going through the loop the same amount of time for a given simulation time. After that, you've got latitude, so you can say I want 45 degrees north, or you want maybe 45 degrees south. The pendulum length has to be longer than the swing diameter. I can choose a swing diameter of 1 meter radius. I can choose a swing diameter of 1 meter radius, and I can, for example, choose a pendulum length of 1.2 meters. You can choose a different initial azimuth, so you can say I want it to start from due south and then it'll swing north, or you can say I want it to start due west and head towards the east. You can turn Coriolis on or off. And what I discovered, and I think this is correct, ChatGPT, I don't necessarily trust ChatGPT for this, but when you apply Coriolis to the pendulum, it no longer travels in a straight line backwards and forwards. Coriolis is going to cause the pendulum to start to swing in an elliptical orbit. And as that elliptical orbit changes and morphs, what happens is some of the amplitude gets lost. And I think that the way that the simulator is rounding, probably rounding down some values, the overall swing amplitude decreases. And in order to keep it from decaying right to no longer swinging, I had to add an extra swing stability coefficient that would add that much extra energy to the swing to keep the apex radius pretty much as close to the target as possible. If you want to simulate what happens with air resistance, you can add a drag coefficient, and that's just going to slowly lower the desired apex radius. That was the best way I could figure out how to emulate the decay rate like that. After that, you can change the rotation speed of the planet you're on. So if you want the planet to spin once every 30 seconds, you can see how that's going to affect Coriolis. Or if you want to change the gravity from 9.8 meters per second to, let's say, 2 meters per second squared, you can see how that's going to affect that. The rest of these just show information. So Bob the Science Guy had made his videos, I think, back in late December, and that got me back into this project, and ever since then I've seen FTFE talk to flat earthers on TikTok several times about Foucault's pendulum. Even Simon Dan made a video about somebody else talking about the Foucault's pendulum, and that other person was talking about the first one that was made. And I thought, what better way to celebrate the topic by simulating what the first Foucault's pendulum demonstrated. So with that, I'm going to play a recreation of the Foucault's pendulum at the Panthéon in Paris, and I'm going to play it at 30 times speed. So before I go, if you like the video, I would appreciate the thumbs up, the subscribe, all that other good stuff, you know what to do. And with that, I am going to play the animation, and I will see you again in another video soon enough. So bye for now.